Well, welcome back, all you beautiful, amazing, smart people out there. I'm so glad you're here in today's broadcast. Well, in today's report, I'm going to kind of veer off of my normal topics for a little bit and just kind of go a little bit back to a lot of the things that I used to cover. And I really want to hone in on the UFO, who they are, what are they doing here, and kind of answer from my perspective what I believe is truly going on. Because what I have to show you today is a shocking admission from one of our United States congressmen that really little to no one talked about, but I believe it deserves the utmost attention because our congressional leaders are now starting to talk about UFOs today, unlike they ever have before. So lots to discuss. Let's dive in first to dailymail.co.uk and see what one of our congressional leaders, the bombshell that they just dropped. Take a look here. Congressman on Intelligence Committee says aliens have the technology to turn humans into charcoal briquettes, and government has been covering up UFO existence since 1890. It goes on. Republican Tim Burchett believes there is no question the objects in the skies are not of this earth and have abilities to fly underwater and never leave behind heat trails. Burchett, who was on the House Oversight Committee overseeing UFO hearings, has been shown classified footage not yet released to the public. It goes on. The congressman told the Event Horizon podcast this week that, quote, "We've been dealing with government cover-ups since 1947, probably since about 1897 in what was the Aurora, Texas UFO crash. They, ET craft, can travel light years or at the speeds that we've seen defy physics as we know it," Burchett said during the podcast. They can fly underwater and do not show a heat trail. He continued to explain that if these otherworldly beings have technology unlike anything we know on Earth, then they could turn us into charcoal briquettes. "We are out of our league," the congressman continued. "We couldn't fight them off if we wanted to. That's why I don't think they're a threat to us, or they would have already have been." Now, what this congressional leader is saying here is he's saying, hey, I've seen the information. I have seen what the public hasn't seen. And yeah, there's extraterrestrials out there. I believe that they're out there. And by the way, they have technology so advanced that they could turn us into charcoal briquettes. And, we couldn't really do much in return. So considering the fact that they could have taken out humanity and haven't means, in his scenario, that they're not necessarily a threat. Now, I've got my own theory on all of this that I'm going to cover with you in just a moment. But before I do, I just want to remind you, get to lisahavengold.com. It's a Noble Gold Investments linked site. And what I want to encourage you to do is protect your investments, especially in an unstable economy. Take your 401ks that you have and turn them into something backed by gold, silver, and precious metals, especially in light of what's going on, or get a 401k if you don't have one. Fill out this information and click Get It Now, and they're going to send you this free gold investment guide for free. But right now, on top of it all, they are giving away this 1/4 ounce bullion coin here that you see on the screen with any approved plan. But protect your investments and don't be a victim. If you want more information, click that More button or click in the description box below. All right. So let's kind of dive a little bit back into this because on top of all the information that this particular congressman has given us, he's not the only one speaking out about this. In fact, just the other day, Marco Rubio also came out. Take a look here. Marco Rubio says he's heard shocking firsthand accounts of UFOs from top Pentagon officials who claim that the United States owns crashed non-human craft and is working on reverse engineering that technology. And that's on Daily Mail. Not only that, but multiple whistleblowers have been and are coming forward. This is also on Daily Mail. Pentagon UFO whistleblower claims people have been killed by non-human intelligences and says the United States government will do anything to protect the secret. Now, obviously, there are congressional leaders coming out saying the people now have the right to know. We need to get involved. We need to inform the public because this is crossing a lot of lines. We can't keep this secret since the early since the late 1800s, early 1900s. We have to start being open. Now, the question therein lies, and this is the question on everybody's mind: who are they? What do they want? Are they good? Are they bad? Do they plan to take over humanity? What's the end game? What's the goal? Well, what I'm going to do now is give you my opinion and my assessment of who I believe that they are. Am I 100% correct? Well, I don't know until the time comes. Nobody can be, know all the details about everything, but this is my opinion about what I believe it to be. Now, I'm basing all of this off of reading the Bible. I've read the Bible multiple times. I've also read extra biblical texts, those being the book of Enoch and the book of Yasher, which I find absolutely fascinating. So here's my kind of rundown of what I believe the UFO phenomenon is. And I'm going to go backwards because I think it starts a lot further. It starts, Adam and Eve and before the time of Noah. So I'm going to go back there to give you an overall idea of who I think they are. Now, Adam and Eve, got cast down to the earth after the Garden of Eden. A few generations later, we have the time just before Noah, and apparently the earth is, not as good as God wanted it to be. For lack of a better term, there was a fight in heaven, and fallen angels came to the earth. There was about 200 of these fallen angels, according to the book of Enoch, and they were led by Semyazi and some other fallen angels there. Well, they came down to the earth just before the time of Noah and decided that they would share technology with humanity against God's plan, against God's will. God didn't want them to share this kind of thing with humankind. They taught them how to, put makeup on. They taught them how to do certain things to their bodies. They taught them technology unlike they've ever seen before. And they started to have all these advancements and all these things that Jesus and God just really didn't like, right? So then they also took it a step further, and these fallen angels said, hey, you know what? These women, these human women are very beautiful. So they started to take these human women and have sex with them. And what happened was, according to the book of Enoch, when a fallen angel had sex with a woman, that produced the offspring known as Nephilim. Now, in the Bible, they are called the Nephilim. In the book of Enoch, you have the Nephilim as well. And during the time of Noah, just before Noah, right before the flood, there were giants on the land. And these giants were the Nephilim that came as a result of fallen angels having sex with women. Now, God forbid this activity and said, hey, you know what? This isn't acceptable. I'm going to flood the earth, and floods the entire earth and punishes all of them. Now, what's interesting is that during that flood period, God was so unhappy with these fallen angels that he bound them up and he chained them for a certain amount of generations. Now, the number that I remember it as, and I don't have the book of Enoch in front of me, but it was 70 generations times 70 or something to that effect. And what's interesting, as you're going to see in a moment, is they were set to be released after said time. And that said time, by the way, if you fast forward and you do the calculations, puts us at the early 1900s, right when we had our big boom technological explosion, which would go in line with the book of Enoch that says they were tied up and chained for 70 times 70 generation, or whatever the number was. You guys can quote it in the comments section. I can't wait to read some of the comments. But they were bound up until said time, and that said time again puts us right at the 1900s when our technology started to boost and when we started seeing UFOs in the sky, right? So now that said, kind of get an idea. The fallen angels were upset with God for having done this to them for a couple of reasons. One, when they had their babies, these Nephilim race, these giants, as they were back then, according to the book of Enoch and the book of Yasher, they were both really upset with God because God said, well, when your Nephilim dies, right, they're not welcome in heaven because I didn't create this creature. This is not a creature that I approved of or I wanted. They're pure evil from the start. Therefore, they're not allowed in heaven. Well, this ticked off a lot of the fallen angels. And what happened as a result of a Nephilim, when it died, according to the book of Enoch, it became a demon. demons, which now inhabit the earth and are still on the earth. Just another little quick tidbit for you there if you've not heard any of that. All right, so back to now let's go forward to the 1900s. According to the Book of Enoch, they have been released around the early 1900s, and bang, we go from back to the time of Noah. All that we could do was horse and buggy and boats. That was about as technological advanced as we got. Cue forward to the 1900s, and bang, we can travel by car, by plane, by train to the moon and back, and we can create nuclear bombs. We're talking 5,000 years of nothing, and suddenly 200 years or whatever it was, and bang, we have got a technological advancement unlike we have ever seen before. In fact, the book of Daniel tells us that knowledge will increase and travel will go to and fro in the end times, which is a complete depiction of what we see today. Now, that said, this is why I believe that, the UFO phenomenon or the aliens or whatever title they want to give them, I believe they are the fallen angels. I believe they are the demons. I believe they are the Nephilim spoken of in the book of Enoch, in the book of Yasher, in the Bible, and many other historical documents. They go by different names, but that's what I believe they are. Now, I believe that they're interdimensional. That's my personal opinion, and I can go on another tangent on that on another day, but I do believe they're interdimensional and can travel in and out, right? But you have these fallen angels that I believe are these UFOs, and that's why I think our technology increased, because just as in the time just before the flood when they were sharing technologies as outlined in Yasher and Enoch, they are again sharing technologies with humankind, which is exactly what our congressional leaders are saying. And they're saying they shared technology with us. We reversed engineered a lot of this stuff to come up with, little things like the cell phones that we have in our hands today. Right? These are things that they learned from these beings, and it just so happens to go in line with things from history's past. And then on top of it all, when you look at the UFO phenomenon, you think, well, they're having, they're taking DNA from people having sexual relations. When you hear of somebody who's been abducted, these are the things that you hear from them. And I believe that they're not necessarily giants anymore, because I believe that they've messed with DNA and had the ability to change it over time, because these are very technologically advanced species. However, because we're made in the image of God, they can never acquire the technology to look exactly like us, if you will. I think there's always going to be little differences, and there's people who will disagree with that. But again, this is my opinion, right? So we have these UFOs, fallen angels, demons back on the planet now. And the reason that I believe they haven't interacted with mankind and overtaken us is because God won't allow it. And I believe that doesn't happen until the latter days when they make themselves known, and there's all kinds of other stuff. Now, there's also talk of a fake alien invasion. They could obviously do that to make humanity comply, but I do think there's a spiritual realm out there that we also need to be aware of. So with that, I can't wait to hear your comments and concerns. I did a dialogue like this on Justice Knight's channel, but I wanted to kind of redo it a little bit on my channel because you guys don't get to hear a lot of this. But I'd love to get your thoughts, comments, and concerns. And by the way, if you want more information like this, and I honestly mean that, you got to get to restrictedrepublic.com. We do live streams, live events, Q&As, and it is only there that I can speak openly and freely about everything I really want to tell you. And right now, use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5, Lisa and the number 5, and you're going to get it for $5 per month, but you're going to want to be there. We have a community and we stick together, and there really is a lot of information that you're not getting. Anyhow, I love all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.